This video is made possible by the following mad lads. All their awesome gear they supply to me can be checked out in the description below. Hey guys, my wang is small in real life, so I make up with a big one for it in game. Boy here, and welcome to R-Factor 2 for another video. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is first of all a very hairy man in the bottom left hand corner, hello. And secondly, something that's actually worth your attention, the McLaren Senna GTR, which is set for release into R-Factor 2 a bit later on today. So what makes this car special? What makes it special to me is that this is a representation of what the Hypercar class could look like. For those who don't know, the Hypercar class is the one that is set to replace LMP1, which of course is a bit sad for me. I've driven hundreds if not thousands of hours of the R18 over in iRacing. So I'm interested to see what the replacement is going to be like. Now usually, for this part of the video, I go over the specs of the car, things like power, weight, downforce, that kind of thing. And I asked the guys over at Studio 397, what's this McLaren Senna making? How much power has it got? How much does it weigh? Etc, etc. And they are not allowed to tell me, because this car has not gone to market yet, so we're going to have to guess. Now, seeing as this is going to be a replacement for the top class in the WEC in sports car racing, I'm going to wager it's pretty damn quick. But the way I'm going to test it out is by not doing what I usually do, which I usually do a race and do things that way. I'm going to be running a practice session at Le Mans with about 40 cars on circuit, all different classes, to try and get an idea of how this car fits in around the other classes. Will it be able to overtake P2s easily? How does it act around GTEs? That kind of thing. But before I get into that session, I wanted to show you guys that ass. I mean, look at that diffuser, the ridiculous thing on there too. It looks like a Hot Wheel car, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. So using the power of sim racing magic, here I am in the pits at Le Mans in our McLaren Senna GTR, about to head out onto the circuit. As you can hear, we've got cars going around in the background, so hopefully by the time I get out there and get up to speed, there'll be some people for us to play with. That's definitely a Porsche. Right, end of the pit lane. Out we go then, out the pits in our McLaren Senna GTR. Now I've got to remember that you get cold brakes in RF2. So I've got to take it easy coming out of the pit lane. I don't want to overshoot too early on and blow my load early. Coming down the S's then. Nice and easy down here, just being very soft, not really pushing the car at all on this outlap, especially for this first part. When we get onto the Mulsanne straight, you'll get an idea of the speed of this thing. Now, speed's in kilometers an hour. Hopefully you guys can understand that. So we're getting the power now out to Rougeau. A bit scary down exit. Tyre's still a little bit cold. Up the gears into stiff gear. This thing has 7 gears. We've got a couple of GTs in front of us. You can see the speed difference right now, and we just keep pulling. I can't tell you how much power we've got behind us, but it's got to be over 700, 800 horsepower to be pulling like this, with all that downforce in the back of us. Coming up to our first big braking zone. How are the brakes? Getting there. Brakes are getting there. A little bit rude there on that BMW. Oh, wow, okay. Rear tyres still quite cool. There is traction control on this. No ABS, from what I understand. So I'm trying to run that and try and be kind of semi-faithful to how this car would run in real life. Just putting past all these GTs now, nice and easy. Looking for our braking zone. I'll probably brake about 150 or so on this first lap, just to make sure the car stops. It does. Nice and easy down the gears. It's a little bit slippy for the lower speed stuff, but that's because this car is just essentially a GT car on steroids. That's pretty much what these regulations are about. They're about bringing back the kind of early or the late 90s GT class, and this is, I guess, how it looks in a modern day trim. Coming up to the Mulsanne corner now. A bit late there, locking up the tyres on the way in. You see again, just a little bit late on the brakes. Might have got a flat spot now, but we should be okay. And again, the acceleration in this thing is pretty damn mega. I'm hoping that we can get side by side with a P2 at some point, so you can really see the comparison between this new Hypercar-esque class and the P2s, which of course are the cars this thing has to get around when racing. Coming up to Indy, really easy on the way into there. There's a lot more grip in the tyre, but I've got to say, once the downforce peels off, this thing just feels like a GT car with too much power. Now in real life, there is talk, of course, of manufacturers being able to use hybrid systems. Hybrid systems that are used in the real cars in real life, so not something that's developed purely for racing. I don't think this thing has anything in it. I'm not even sure the RF2 model's hybrid. I still don't think it does at the moment, so it might just be extra engine power to make up for that. But here we go, coming through the Porsche curves the first time. Let's see what this thing can do through here. I can feel the tyres slipping underneath me. 6th gear for a second. Easy. Very weird not to see that wall there. I'm used to the iRacing version of them on. This is a more up-to-date version. 5th gear through here. Yeah, a little bit on edge. Now coming up to a P2. Now this should be interesting. We've got a P2 and a GTE car. Going to pull to the inside here. Just about close enough to make that work. That was a very much a LMP1 move there. Just adapting my moves for hypercars when it comes out, of course. And out of the last chicane to start our first flying lap. Let's try and push it a bit now. Up for the gears again. Car feels very secure at high speed, but not quite the level of grip that you expect from an LMP1 car. It's just a little bit slower in the corners, and I think, of course, there being no hybrids, a little bit slower in acceleration too, but the top speed is there. You see we're hitting 330 k's coming down to the first chicane on our out lap. A couple of porkies in the way. Out of the way, porky boys. It me, Senna. Gonna just completely box in that P2. Sorry, mate. RIP there, mate. And pull it to the right. Thank you very much. And then blast down the straight. Again, just dropping into the slipstream there. I would love to have a little bit of hybrid there. I'm not sure if the hybrid would be... I don't think it'll be as big a part as it is in modern day LMP1. Probably just more of a back burner thing. Because in modern LMP1 cars, you know, hybrid is a lot of horsepower, like, you know, 400 horsepower or so, maybe even more than that in some of the other cars. I think they're aiming for about 200 or so in these, maybe even a bit less than that. Just being a much cheaper element, because the kind of the reason why LMP1 died is, like most things, it just got too expensive. Crazy money involved in some of these cars, of course, and 9-figure sums, people are saying, stuff like that. It's ridiculous. So this is meant to be cheaper, and by cheaper, I read up the rule book earlier on. They're aiming for about 25 million for a 2-man team. Nice and cheap. Sorry, a 2-car team, sorry. Right now outside this Porsche, that's a move you make in multi-class racing. It's a little bit scary doing this with AR. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. Right, another P2. We didn't quite get to have a run with the other P2 before, so let's see if we can have one now. And again, the reason why I didn't do this in a racing situation is because it would take me, you know, probably about 20 minutes or so, maybe even more than that, half an hour, to catch the rest of the field. I wanted to get into it straight away, and the practice session is best for that. You can see we're really pulling on that P2 into acceleration zone, and I'm hoping that top speed as well will be where we gain a bit of time. 300 k's, then we shift into 7th gear. It just kind of keeps going, this thing. That P2 is crazy. And there you go, just blasting past the Bimmer. Coming up to the P2, I'm going to actually brake and stay behind him to try and get a run out of him coming out of our nage, to try and really compare that acceleration. But through the corners, mid-corner, a little bit slower for that medium speed corner there. Here we go. Right. Plant it in 2nd gear, let traction control take over. And now we start to get into the high gears, the power just takes over, and away we go. And P2 cars have about 550 horsepower or so. My word, he tried to murder me on the way by. Very P2S behaviour there. Yeah, 550, 600 horsepower in those things, if memory serves, and we pulled past it there quite easily. So I think it's fair to say we've got running at least 750 in this thing. I'm making just complete guesses because I've got no information about what this car runs and what it doesn't run. We'll do one more lap after this and try and get a clean lap in. Oh wow, a little bit scary and exit there. But it just feels like when you're driving it in the wheel, I mean, look, it's an RF2 car, so it feels great. But it just feels like a GT car on a lot of steroids. It's on a lot of drugs, you know. It's a 90s GTE car. A 90s stockbroker GTE car, and that is the McLaren. A 330, so you're seeing, you know, context, a decent LMP1 time around here in real life. It's probably about a 318, 317 in the race. Even a bit less than that, and we did a 331. We did have a little bit of traffic there, so hopefully we can get a bit of a clearer run this time. Using third out of there, because this car's got quite a bit of torque coming out of those corners. And 4th gear through here. I can feel the tyres just starting to struggle a bit as you start to push it. Lots of downforce, so you're seeing just a difference in downforce. That is a GTE car there. And here we are in the coked up version of it, and we're just pulling past it like it's nothing. Right, let's see how we can what we can do on this side. We've got a fairly clean track ahead of us, it seems. 3.25. There it is. We hit 3.30. I think we will try and brake just before the 100, or about 150 really in this car. Oh, there's still time on the brakes there, definitely. You see, that's where this car is weak, is that transition there. That could be fixed in some setup, but you're seeing the car, whereas the LMP1 cars are a bit more stuck to the ground for that kind of transition there. This Hypercar, I need to keep reiterating that it's a representation of a Hypercar. It's not actually one. Well, the guys at 397 are going to come break my legs. But this doesn't quite have that mid-corner grip at that kind of speed. I think that's where the time difference is, and of course, ultimately the acceleration too. It's not slow to accelerate this, but it's not LMP1 to accelerate. I'm finding that shifting at one purple light is about where it wants to be. Much past that and you start running out of power, it feels like. Coming down to the Mulsanne corner for the last time then. Now the brakes. Second gear. You have to wait for the tyres to unload before you get back on the power. Corvette GTE in front. Last year of a C7 I think it is. It's going to go to the inside. We're going to just blast by it like it's standing still. Go on, Senna. Now there is a DRS button here. I've got it mapped, but it doesn't do anything. So I guess maybe that'll be something to be looked at. Maybe that's just a part of the real life version. I can take more speed into there, but the thing is, you do that, the brakes aren't quite as good as an LMP1 car, I feel. So when you try and make that last minute lunge on the brakes, the car doesn't really stop. It just kind of goes straight on and you lock up. Again, probably because of less downforce and that kind of lower speed, just less pushing the car to the floor when you mash that brake pedal. But still a very fun car to drive, and I'm enjoying driving this. I've done a few laps, of course, beforehand, just to try and get up to speed, so I don't like a complete tit when I drive, just a little tit instead. But it feels like it very much wants pushing this, and I can't really do it right now. Fifth gear through here. We're going to have taken sixth there. Oh, there you go. That is a perfect representation of the downforce difference. A perfect representation there. You're right on the edge of the balance through the Porsche curves. I just pushed it a little bit too much. It got away from me. Managed to save it somehow. But that's the difference. Just not as much. It's just a little bit tamer. Just a little bit tamer. Still ridiculous and fantastic, but not quite an LMP1 car. But we all knew that was going to be the case anyway. Time, that was a 3.30. I did a 3.28 a bit earlier on. So I guess that's about where the car sits for me anyway. I'm sure others can go faster. But that was... this is, I should say, the McLaren Senna GTR Hypercar. Again, I'm not saying it actually is one. It's just a representation of one. Don't at me, Studio 397. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and the insight. Again, big thank you to the guys at Studio 397 for letting me play this earlier on. It's always a blast getting to drive stuff in RF2 when it all works lovely and it feels nice. This was definitely an occasion of that. If you enjoyed the video in general, then make sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoyed it, then hit subscribe and the bell notification icon, because that way you'll be made notified of future streams and of future videos. I can talk very well, trust me. Yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care, have an awesome day. See you all next time.